Welcome, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of my World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore journey. For anyone new to Hardcore, the challenge is simple. If my character dies, that's it. No second chances. We delete the character and start all over again. While you watch me get started with the first few quests, I wanted to tell you why I decided to start this channel. I've been playing World of Warcraft for years. My brother, one of his best friends, and I have spent countless hours exploring Azeroth together. Some of my favorite gaming memories came from those days. As the game has grown with new expansions and systems, I realized I was missing something. I missed the slower pace. I missed getting excited over a green item. I missed exploring without worrying about the perfect build or the fastest route. That's what this channel is about. I'm not a professional World of Warcraft player. I'm not the fastest, and I'm definitely not the best. There are plenty of people who know more about this game than I ever will, but that's not why I'm here. I want to experience Classic the way I remember it. I want to enjoy the journey, take my time, help other players when I can, and see where this adventure takes me. If this reminds you of the way you used to play, then I hope you'll come along for the ride. Now let's see if we can survive our first day in Hardcore.
Safe travels.
As I worked my way through the first few quests around Coldridge Valley, it didn't take long for the nostalgia to kick in. It's funny how a place you haven't visited in years can still feel so familiar. The music, the snowy mountains, the sound of the forge in the distance. It all came flooding back. Back then, I wasn't thinking about the fastest route to level 60, or whether I was playing the perfect build. I was just another player exploring a world that felt huge. That's the feeling I wanted to find again. Taking my time, reading the quests. Stopping to help other players. Getting distracted by a cave I probably shouldn't have gone into yet. Just enjoying the adventure for what it is. Classic has a way of slowing you down. Every new level feels earned. Every piece of gear feels like an upgrade. Even simple quests have a certain charm that reminds me why I fell in love with this game all those years ago. And honestly, after only a short time back in Azeroth, it already felt like coming home. With the first quests completed and Kazgrimm growing a little stronger, it was time to head a little further into Dun Morogh and see what the adventure had waiting for us next. Before long, it was time to leave the starting area behind. The first quests were finished. I'd survived my first few close calls, and Kazgrimm had made a decent start to his adventure. With Coldridge Valley behind me, it was finally time to step out into the wider world of Dun Morogh. The first stop was the local inn. Setting my hearthstone might not be the most exciting part of the journey, but I'm sure it won't be the last time it saves me from a long walk. After that, I paid a visit to my paladin trainer to learn a few new abilities. Every level brings something new, and it really feels like your character is slowly growing stronger. Before heading back out, I also picked up my first profession. I've always enjoyed professions in Classic. They aren't just something you level at the end of the game, they become part of the journey from the very beginning. With a few new skills, a profession under my belt, and a whole lot more of Dun Morogh waiting to be explored. It felt like the real adventure was only just beginning.
How are ya?
With everything sorted, it was time to get back to what every adventurer spends most of their time doing: questing. Running from camp to camp, clearing out wolves, boars, trolls, and whatever else stood between me and the next level. On paper, it probably doesn't sound all that exciting, but somehow, Classic has always had a way of making even the simplest tasks feel rewarding. Every quest completed was another step forward. Every enemy defeated brought me a little closer to the next level. Every piece of gear that dropped felt like a genuine upgrade instead of something I'd replace 5 minutes later. There was no rush, no race to the endgame. Just me, Kazgrimm, and the snowy hills of Dun Morogh. The music quietly playing in the background, the crunch of snow beneath my boots, and that familiar feeling of exploring a world that somehow still feels magical after all these years. This is exactly what I came back for. After finishing off a few boars for one of the starting quests, I headed back to see if any more had spawned. That's when I noticed another player being attacked by a wolf. At first, I thought he was just taking a risky fight, but then I realized he wasn't moving at all. He'd gone AFK. For a second, I had a choice. Do I jump in, or let hardcore take its course? For me, there wasn't really a decision to make. One quick fight later, his adventure was still alive. A few moments later, he came back, threw me a buff as a thank you, and we both carried on with our own adventures. Moments like these are one of the reasons I wanted to come back to Classic. I had a lot of people help me along the way. It was nice to give back to the community that had treated me the same way. After a couple more mobs, I was starting to settle into a rhythm. I'd reached the point where you begin to think, I've got this. Turns out, that's usually when hardcore reminds you who's really in charge. I was trying to pull a boar for one of my quests, but I wasn't paying enough attention. Instead, I managed to pull 2 wolves as well. Suddenly, what should have been a simple fight became a lot more interesting. For a split second, I had another decision to make. Do I run, or do I stand my ground and fight? I tried to create a little space by pulling back, hoping to shake one of the wolves while finishing off the boar first. It didn't quite go to plan.
Stone recharging.
Luckily, I managed to bring both of them down before they brought me down. Another lesson learned. In hardcore, small mistakes can turn into big problems incredibly quickly. If I want Kazgrimm to make it all the way to level 60, I'll definitely need to be a little more careful from now on. Speaking of being careful, it turned out I wasn't the only one learning that lesson. While I was busy dealing with a Wendigo, a warrior charged straight into another fight and accidentally pulled more enemies than he could handle. For a moment, it looked like his adventure might be coming to an early end. Without thinking too much about it, I jumped in to lend a hand. Sometimes in hardcore, a few extra swings from another player are all it takes to turn things around. Together we brought both enemies down, and just before we went our separate ways, he sent me a quick thank you. It's little moments like that which remind me what made Classic feel so special. Complete strangers, helping each other out, then carrying on with their own adventures. You don't always remember the quests, but you remember the people you meet along the way. And with that, we'll call it a day. Kazgrimm made it through his first adventure, reached level 7, survived a couple of close calls, and even managed to help a few fellow adventurers along the way. Not a bad start. Thank you so much for joining me on the very first episode of Kazgrimm's Adventures. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Next time, we'll continue exploring Dun Morogh, take on some tougher challenges, and see just how far we can take this hardcore journey. Until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next adventure.